Landlords across America. Many of you are aware now that the Centers for Disease Control has extended once again their temporary halt on residential evictions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. This is the third time they've done this. It was supposed to perish the end of December. It was extended to the end of January 2021, then March 2021, and now June 2021. The team and the landlord advocates has learned inside information that the Biden administration might very well extend this again to the end of September 2021, or possibly even the end of 2021. Now that is going to put a lot of you into despair and anger and frustration, as it has been for months and months and months. But we have good news for you. We have analyzed this order and declaration, and we have found loopholes and arguments that you can use to nullify this declaration that should allow you to acquire a warrant of eviction against your tenant for non-payment of rent. And those arguments and loopholes are: this is the Landlord Advocates, where we help landlords become better landlords. I'm your host, Matthew Lyman. Welcome. Landlords, we do have some good news for you. You need to watch the whole video and learn the loopholes and arguments that we have for you, that you can use, or your attorney can use, to help you win your case against your tenant. Now, first and foremost, this order and declaration. Per the CDC, you do not need to make your tenants aware of this declaration or order at all. So it's up to the tenant to learn about this and to utilize it. And if they do sign the declaration, it would go to you, the landlord, not to the CDC, not to the court, not to the state, not to social services. It would go to you directly. But that doesn't mean it stops there. Now, be aware that even though the CDC does not require you to provide this information to the tenants, some states do require it. In the state of New York, the landlord must provide an informational sheet on colored paper, blue, goldenrod, green, pink, whatever it is. It cannot be white. And it must be provided to the tenant that provides them with information in order for them to get assistance to fight you to get them out of the apartment that you so want them to leave by. That has to be provided. Now, we would love to provide a link in the description below so that you can look at this document fully and even print it out and use it to help yourself. But we cannot do that. And the reason why is that we must have 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We are well on our way to that 1,000. We are making great strides in the subscription of our followers and members, but we need to increase that. So therefore, if you're watching, subscribe to our channel, because the more that you do, the more we can help you. So we need to reach 1,000 subscribers, so help us reach that goal. Now, when we look at the criterion of this declaration, there are 7 components, 7 variables that must all be met, and if not, your tenant cannot sign this declaration unless they are doing so by perjuring themselves. We're going to look at each one, and we're going to look at them and show you ways that you can go to court and have that particular criteria nullified. 2 of the criteria are ridiculous. They're informational only to the tenant. One is that you can face penalties, interest, late fees, and you need to pay your rent when this is all over. Well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. The other one is that they inform the tenant that when this is all over, you may have to pay all of that rent at once, or you can face eviction. Well, again, yeah, that's informational. It's not going to help us, the landlords, right now. But the other 5 are ones that they must all meet. And if they do not meet them, you should be able to take your case to court and have your tenant evicted. We're going to talk about that situation at the end of what we need to do to make sure that this can be achieved in your court of jurisdiction. But let's now look at the 5 criteria and then give you an argument against each one. The first one is that the tenant must make $99,000 a year or less, and their joint followers $198,000 a year or less. Or they received a stimulus check under the CARES Act under Section 2201. When we look at all of that, that is the one criteria that most every tenant in America will qualify for. Seriously, how many tenants across America are making $99,000 a year? Or joint followers of $198,000 a year? A super maximum majority of tenants are not making that much money. So they will qualify for that criterion. There's not much we can do to offer you a loophole or an argument against that. But it gets better, because there's 4 more. One of the other criterion is that the tenant must be able to make a full payment of rent or a full housing payment due to they're unable to do so due to a substantial loss of household income, loss of compensable hours of work or wages, layoffs, or extraordinary out-of-pocket medical expenses. What do they call extraordinary out-of-pocket? Is 7.5% of the adjusted gross income of the tenant. Now, that's not something that we can even address because under HIPAA laws, we can ask them, what was it that you spent $7,500 or $3,000 on a medical expense? That's not something that we can ask for and it cannot be shared in court. So that's nullified. We can't even look at that. But when you look at the other aspects, one of the things that you can bring up in court is, Your Honor, let them show us pay stubs. Let us show them that to us. When the court mandated that they do that, probably not. But one of the statistics that you can use in court that just came out this morning, April 2nd, 2021, by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is that over 900,000 jobs were added to the U.S. economy in March of 2021. The unemployment rate now has dropped to 6%. We believe that the employment rate will go higher and the unemployment rate will go lower if more people will not be satiated by the United States government by getting all of these stimulus checks, unemployment checks. It's encouraging those who should be going back to work to not do so, because some of them are still making more money not working than when they were working. That is not fair to us landlords for them to be able to use that cloak of I can't go back to work. Because in fact they can, but they're choosing not to, because they're getting more money not to. And that argument we raised in court, why not? Why not? Another variable is that the tenant is, if evicted, would likely become homeless or have to move into a homeless shelter or cohabitate with other people, which could spread the COVID-19 pandemic further across America. The other one that they say is that I have no other available housing options. Yes, you do. Yes, you absolutely do. And here, landlords, is what you need to do in this case. Go to Craigslist. Go to social media sites like Facebook, where they will have groups in your community that will have apartment listings. What they may call themselves, they may go by area code, they may go by city, they may go by whatever. What you want to do is print out those apartments that are available for your tenant to go and move to. But you want to make sure that when you do this, that the apartment is comparable to the one that you want them to move away from. That the rent is comparable and the bedroom composition is comparable. 2 bedroom for 2 bedroom, not 1 bedroom for 3 or 3 for 1. You want to make sure. Print those all out. Bring those to court with you. So when a tenant uses this particular criteria to say, I can't find suitable housing comparable, you can say, all right, here's a list. And then flip the page and show another. And flip the page and show more. And flip the page and show more. Your Honor, there is available housing for them to go to. So the argument that they can't find another place to live is diminished. That argument should not sway with the court, that they can't find another place to live, because you just provided to the court and to the tenant a list of apartments that they can go and move to and leave your place and say goodbye. Another criterion is that they have used their best efforts to acquire rental assistance from the government. Many of you know that as the Department of Social Services, or more commonly known as welfare. Now, they will go there, and they should apply, and they may give you what's called a shelter verification notice for you to fill out. That would be a notice that will ask the composition of the apartment. How many bedrooms? How is it heated? Do they get a stove? Do they get a refrigerator? Who pays for all of that? What is the monthly rent? That would be provided to social services so that they can look at the tenant, look at the tenant's income or lack thereof, and the apartment, and the family size to see whether or not that apartment is viable for that tenant. Now, what you must be very, very careful and aware of is that they can get their hands on that shelter verification. I know in our office we have a file of blank shelter verification notices. Just because they come to court with it filled out does not mean that they presented it to their caseworker, if they have one, at social services. So you want to make sure that when that document is presented, that they went for help for housing, that it has an endorsement from a caseworker from the County Department of Social Services. You have a right to ask the court, Your Honor, let them produce that they actually went. Now, the other thing that you want to bring up as an argument, if you are allowed to in court, regarding this particular criteria, is you can say, Your Honor, they just applied for this program. They just applied for rental assistance. They did so, Your Honor, because they just got the notice to come here a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever the time frame may be. And now they're here now knowing that they are on the precipice of falling off and getting evicted. So they went to social services for help. What you have to look at, too, when they do that, is that social services may take 30 to 45 days to determine whether or not the tenant qualifies to even receive financial assistance. And we need to hope that the judge in the case will not extend the case out, your eviction case, for 30 to 45 days for DSS to make that determination whether your tenant qualifies or not. And how you do that is you look at what you know, where your tenant may work, how far back the rent is due. Because remember this, a lot of times the social services departments across America, if the tenant is so far behind, they will not pay that rent to you. It is less expensive to them to take your tenant and move them to another location to live, and that you hang high and dry for the back rent that is owed to you. So if the rent is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months behind, whatever the determining factor is in your county Department of Social Services and in your state, it may fall out of the realm of that department to help. And this is just a stall tactic on behalf of the tenant to keep them in the apartment, even though they know full well that you are getting nothing in back rent. Be careful of that. Now, the last criterion is the one that we think that every tenant, or damn near every tenant, will not be able to qualify for. Listen up. I am using best efforts to make timely, partial payments that are as close to the full payment as the individual circumstances may permit, taking into account other non-discretionary expenses. In our eyes, the only non-discretionary expenses that they may have would be a medical insurance premium or a utility payment to keep the lights on and the heat on. But for many landlords in the north of the United States know that many tenants will have the heat at 80 degrees in the wintertime, and they walk around in shorts and a t-shirt or a tank top, or practically even less than that, because they want to have the heat on high. So now their bill can be thousands of dollars. So consider that if you're in the northern states of the United States, that they may use that argument, my bill is so high I can't pay it. Well, that's the reason why it's so high. Put on some damn clothes rather than walk around naked in your apartment and having the heat at 90 degrees. So your bill is not so high. So even that discretionary bill is not so discretionary. Now, cell phone bill, no. Car payment, no. Car insurance, no. Clothing, no. Food, no. You can get by on pasta and sauce and bread. I did when I was homeless. Not there anymore, but I did. You can do the same thing. The tenant can do the same thing. They don't need $1,000 cell phone. They don't need an expensive pair of shoes. They don't need any of that. Even though many of you know that they have these because of the stimulus money that they've been getting. This has been happening. Just ask Amazon how many deliveries they've been doing since these tenants have been getting the stimulus money, and they've been buying from Amazon, but they have not been giving that money to you for the rent. Now, when we look at the other part, I am using best efforts to make partial payments as close to the full rent that I owe. This is where you have your greatest argument to nullify this entire declaration. When your tenant owes 4, 5, 8, 10, 17 months worth of rent, and they haven't given you a dime, a penny, a shilling, a sixpence, whatever the hell you call it. They haven't given you anything. How can they say that they have been making partial payments as close to in good faith when they have not? How can they use that argument? That is the greatest argument, ladies, that you can use right now if they present this declaration to you. Take your tenant to court anyway. Do not be intimidated by them filling out this declaration. Don't say, oh my God, what am I going to do? We at the Landlord Advocates have just told you what you're going to do. And you're going to do it. You're going to show them that they haven't been paying me in months. How can they call that good faith effort? They haven't been paying me. I need to get them out. Now here's where the one problem that you may face in your court. Is your court going to even hear the case? They should. The CDC does not ban the courts from hearing cases. It encourages them to do so. So your court or jurisdiction, whether it be a town, a village, or city, whatever it may be, should be hearing the cases that you are bringing forth for non-payment of rent. If the tenant brings a copy of the declaration, or you bring a copy to court with you and be honest, go to court with it, and then tear that declaration apart, figuratively speaking, to the court and be ready. All you need to do is do one. The tenant has to meet all 5 criterion. We've already showed you 3 ways out of the 5 that you can kill this declaration that the tenant may present to you in court. Make it happen. If you do not have, and we say this with a hug, if you do not have the fortitude or the knowledge to make this happen, it is in your best interest to hire professionals like my firm, like us, and others across America that do have what you lack in order to get what you want, and that is the eviction of your tenant. The cost to make that happen might be $500, might be $1,000, but the alternative is having a tenant in the property, destroying it even more, and going into debt even more to you. Not that they really care. They're not going to pay you anyway, you know that. But you know that you need to get them out so that you can get somebody in that will pay the rent to you. So, landlords, we hope that you have learned some things here now and use those to your defense in order for you to garner that eviction. Now, mind you, holdover evictions can still go forward. If the tenant is destroying the property, creating a safety hazard, a violation of code requirements in your municipality, you can still take them to court. As far as lease violation, sure. When you give a tenant a holdover notice as a non-renewal of their tenancy, the court should recognize that as a violation because you're asking them to move and they have not. We can only hope that the court will rise to that and allow it to happen. We have to hope that the courts will open their doors and hear these cases. We have to hope that the judges will adjudicate these cases as they have been hired to do for all of America. Landlords, we are with you. We are here for you. You know that. We say it to you all the time. We ask that you subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be made aware of other videos. Please leave comments below. We do answer them. We have become quite popular in the landlord world, which we are happy for. So sometimes we may not get to your comment for a week, but we do respond to them, even if it is a thumbs up, even if it is clicking the heart. And we thank recent subscribers that have joined. We thank you. It is allowing us to know that you care about us and that you want to see us help you even more. Until then, landlords, take care.